Rise up, warriors, not the warriors who carry swords, the ones who carry something far heavier, the weight of a mind that refuses to quit, the weight of a standard that never drops, no matter how exhausted the day leaves you, the weight of waking up and choosing who you are going to be before the world gets a chance to decide for you. That kind of warrior is rare, and the reason is simple and honest, and most people do not want to hear it. Most people want to feel strong. They do not want to do the work that builds the strength. They want the unbreakable mind without the breaking, the resilience without the resistance, the discipline without the days when discipline is the last thing they feel like exercising. And because those two things cannot be separated, because the mind is built exactly through what it costs you to build it, most people stay where they are, wishing for the result while avoiding the process that produces it. You clicked on this video, which means something in you is done wishing and ready to start working. What follows are 8 laws, not suggestions, not tips, laws, the kind that do not care how you feel today, the kind that apply when you are motivated and when you are not, when life is cooperating and when it absolutely is not, when you feel like the person you are trying to become and when you feel like the furthest possible version from them. Each law is going to ask something real from you. Each one is going to point at a specific place in your daily life where discipline either gets built or gets avoided. And each one, practiced across ordinary days without audience and without applause, builds the one thing that no circumstance can take from you once you have genuinely built it. A mind that does not break. Not a mind without pain. Not a mind that floats above difficulty. A mind that goes through it, that feels everything and keeps moving anyway, that gets hit and stays standing, that faces the worst of what life can deliver and comes out the other side not smaller but larger. That is what these 8 laws build. One ordinary day at a time. People think mental strength is something you have or you do not, something you were born with or were not, that some people possess it by nature and others are simply not built for it. This belief is comfortable because it removes the responsibility. If strength is a gift, then the absence of it is not something you did. It is simply how you arrived. That belief is wrong. Mental strength is built exactly the same way physical strength is built. Through training, through the specific, consistent, repeated application of effort to the thing you are trying to develop. A person who has not trained their mind is not someone who lacks mental strength. They are someone who has not trained for it yet. Those are very different things. One is permanent, the other has a solution. These 8 laws are the solution. Apply them across ordinary days and watch what accumulates. If you are ready to be forged rather than consoled, comment below, "Forge me." Number 1. The law of governance. Control yourself first. Everything else will follow. Here is the truth that changes everything once you actually accept it instead of just agreeing with it. You were never going to control the world. You were never going to control other people. You were never going to control the timing of outcomes, the fairness of circumstances, the behavior of the person who hurt you, or the specific combination of things that arrived in your life uninvited and refused to leave on your preferred schedule. You were only ever going to control one thing, yourself. And most people never even do that. They spend every available unit of energy trying to manage what is outside them. Other people's opinions, other people's choices, the narrative of situations they are already inside, the outcome of processes already in motion. And they wonder why they feel powerless. They feel powerless because they have been trying to exercise power in territory that was never theirs. Think about how much energy you spend every week on things you cannot change. Replaying a conversation that already happened. Worrying about a meeting that has not happened yet. Trying to figure out why someone behaved the way they did. Monitoring how a situation is developing that you have no real influence over. All of that is real energy, hours of real thinking, real emotional weight, and it is all being spent on territory that does not belong to you. Now think about what gets neglected while that energy is going elsewhere. Your focus, your health, your own behavior in the moments that actually matter. The standard you set for yourself and whether you are meeting it. The work that is sitting waiting for the attention that is busy being spent on what cannot be controlled. The trade is catastrophically bad, and most people make it every single day without realizing they are making a trade at all. The territory that is yours is small, your thoughts, your responses, your standards. The decision about whether this moment gets your full effort or gets an excuse, that is your whole kingdom. And most people treat that kingdom like it barely matters while spending all their energy on the territory that was never theirs to govern. Epictetus wrote, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Make the best use. Every word of that matters. Not acknowledge what is in your power. Not feel okay about what is in your power. Make the best use. Bring everything you have to the territory you actually own. Give it your full attention, your full effort, your full commitment, and then release the rest, not with resentment, with the practical understanding that the rest was never going to respond to your effort anyway. This is the first law because every other law depends on it. Every other discipline in this video requires you to have already accepted that governing yourself is the only governance available to you. Without that acceptance, the others feel like restrictions. With it, they feel like the only sensible way to live. Start today with one honest question. Where is my energy going right now? Write the answer down if you need to. How much of it is on things you can actually influence? How much is on things you cannot? And make one adjustment, just one. Pull a fraction of what was going to the uncontrollable and put it directly into the governable. Do that daily. Watch what accumulates. Here is what nobody tells you about this law. The moment you genuinely redirect your energy from the uncontrollable to the controllable, something shifts that you can feel before you can explain it. The low-grade anxiety that was running in the background, the anxiety produced by trying to manage things that were never manageable, begins to quiet, not because the circumstances changed, because you stopped fighting a battle that was never winnable and started fighting one that you can actually win. That shift is available today, right now, in the next moment where you notice your energy going towards something outside your jurisdiction. Notice it, name it, and redirect. One moment. That is all the law requires. One moment at a time, every day, until the redirection becomes the default and the wasted energy becomes the exception. Govern yourself. Everything else is detail, and watch how the people around you respond to the version of you that is no longer reactive to everything outside your control. There is a quality to a person who has genuinely made this shift. A steadiness that the people around them can feel even when they cannot name it. When the difficult thing arrives and you do not spiral. When the opinion lands and you do not scramble. When the outcome disappoints and you do not collapse. People notice. Not because you announced the shift, because the shift changed how you show up in every room you enter. That is the quiet power of the first law. It changes you on the inside, and the inside, when it genuinely changes, always eventually shows on the outside. If you are done letting everything outside you run everything inside you, comment below. I govern myself. Number 2. The Law of Voluntary Hardship. Choose the hard path daily, or the hard path will choose you. Comfort is not neutral. It is not a resting state. It is a direction. Every time you choose comfort over the difficult thing, you are not standing still. You are moving in the direction of a smaller, less capable, more fragile version of yourself that will be less equipped to handle the next hard thing than you were to handle this one. Think about what happens to a muscle that never gets used. It does not maintain its current size. It shrinks. The body does not hold on to what is not being asked for. The same is true for every mental and emotional capacity you have. Tolerance for discomfort, ability to focus, patience under pressure, willingness to do the hard thing when the easy one is available. These are all capacities. They grow with use. They shrink with avoidance. Every skipped morning, every deferred difficult conversation, every time the comfortable choice won because the hard one felt like too much today. Each one individually costs almost nothing visible, but they accumulate. And what they accumulate into is a person who is progressively less capable of handling difficulty than they were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 3 years ago. And difficulty does not stop arriving just because your tolerance for it has been shrinking. Life does not scale down to match where you are. It arrives with the full weight of what it is, and the person who has been training for it and the person who has been avoiding it meet that weight very differently. Voluntary hardship is the practice of choosing the hard thing before you are forced to. Cold water in the morning when warm is available, the conversation you have been putting off for 2 weeks, the work you start before you feel ready for it, the comfortable assumption you challenge instead of accepting, the standard you hold even when nobody is watching, and lowering it would cost you nothing visible. None of these are heroic, that is the point. They are small, ordinary, unremarkable from the outside. But from the inside they are building something that the comfortable life is not. The knowledge that you can do the hard thing when you choose to. And that knowledge, accumulated through specific personal evidence rather than theoretical belief, is what genuine confidence is actually made of. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Read that again. The difficulty is created by the avoidance, not the other way around. Every time you dare first, before the discomfort demands it, the thing that felt enormous gets smaller. You have evidence now that you can do it. The evidence reduces the perceived size of the next version of the same challenge, and over time, what was once a mountain becomes manageable because you have been building the specific capacity to manage it through every small choice that preceded it. The uninvited difficulty is coming. It always comes. The only question is whether it arrives to find someone who has been training for it, or someone who has been making themselves smaller while waiting for it to not arrive. Train, not dramatically, consistently, in the small daily choices that nobody sees and nobody applauds, and that compound into the person who can handle whatever arrives without being undone by it. And here is the part that makes this law worth committing to. You will not feel the building while it is happening. Discipline built through small daily choices does not announce itself. You do not wake up one morning and feel suddenly stronger. You wake up one morning and notice that the thing that used to feel like too much is now just a thing you do. The conversation that used to fill you with dread is just a conversation you have. The morning you used to fight your way through is just a morning. The change is invisible while it is happening and undeniable once enough time has passed. That invisibility is why most people quit before the accumulation becomes visible. They are looking for the feeling of progress while the progress is quietly happening without announcing itself. Stay in it. The building is real. It just does not feel like much until the hard thing arrives and you discover that you are not undone by it. That discovery is the payoff, and it only comes to the person who kept choosing hard when the feeling of progress was nowhere to be found. If you are finally ready to stop choosing comfort and start choosing strength, comment below, "I choose hard." Number 3. The law of the present. Stop living in your head. The only moment that counts is right now. Right now, while you are reading this, your mind is probably also somewhere else. Maybe it is in a conversation from last week that did not go the way you wanted. Maybe it is 3 weeks ahead running through everything that might go wrong with something you are working on. Maybe it is in a comparison with someone whose life appears to be going better than yours from the angle you are viewing it. Maybe it is rehearsing an argument with someone who is not in the room. This is the default setting of the human mind. Left without direction, it does not rest in the present. It travels into the past to replay what happened, into the future to simulate what might, into other people's lives to measure itself against what it sees from outside. The mind in its untrained default state is almost never fully here. And here is the problem with that. Everything that can actually be done exists here, in this specific moment, not in the conversation from last week which is already closed, not in the simulated future which has not arrived and may not arrive in the form you are simulating, not in the comparison with someone else's curated external presentation of their life. Here, in the real, actual, happening right now moment. The fraction of your mind that is actually present for what is happening right now is the fraction of your capability that this moment gets. If half of you is in last week and half is in next month, then the thing in front of you right now is getting a version of you operating at a fraction of what you are actually capable of. And you will wonder why your work feels scattered, why your relationships feel like you are partially there, why the day ends and you feel like you were busy but accomplished less than you should have. The answer is that you were not fully in the day, you were in several other days simultaneously. Training presence is not about achieving some perfect, permanent stillness where your mind never wanders. That is not possible, and it is not the goal. The goal is the return. Every time you notice your mind has gone somewhere else, you bring it back. That is the practice. The noticing and the returning. Not staying present perfectly. Returning to present consistently. The noticing is not failure. The noticing is the whole point. The person who notices their mind wandering and returns it 500 times today is not someone who failed to stay present 500 times. They are someone who practiced the return 500 times. And 500 returns practiced daily over weeks and months build something in the brain that research confirms and experience validates. A genuine, growing, increasingly automatic capacity to be where you are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. You have power over your mind, not outside events. The power over your mind starts with the power to direct where it goes. This is not a power you were born with fully formed. It is a power you build by exercising it, by noticing the wander, by choosing the return, by deciding repeatedly that this moment, this specific unrepeatable moment, deserves you fully rather than the fraction left over after the past and the future have taken what they wanted. Try this today. Pick one activity, just one, a meal, a conversation, 30 minutes of work, and for that one activity bring yourself back every single time your mind leaves. Do not judge the leaving, just return. Do it consistently for that one activity and notice what the full version of your attention produces compared to the partial version you have been giving it. The difference will be enough to make you want more of it. Here is what full presence actually produces that partial presence never does. When you are fully in a conversation, you hear what is actually being said instead of what you expected to hear. When you are fully in your work, you solve the actual problem instead of the version of it you brought in from yesterday. When you are fully in a moment with someone you love, they feel it. They cannot explain it, but they feel the difference between the version of you that is there and the version that is technically present but mentally somewhere else. Your relationships improve when you are present. Your work improves when you are present. Your decision-making improves when you are present because you are responding to what is actually happening rather than the story your wandering mind constructed about what is happening. The return practice is not just a mental discipline, it is a quality of life practice. The more you return, the more you get from each moment, and the more you get from each moment, the less you need from the next one to feel like your life is actually being lived. If you have been living everywhere except the moment you are actually in, comment below, I stay present. Number 4. The Law of Appetite. Your desires are not your boss. You are. Every single time you give an impulse exactly what it wants the moment it asks for it, you are training. Not training to be disciplined, training to be driven. Training the part of you that says I want this now to expect immediate satisfaction. and expectations that get met repeatedly become the standard. And the standard, once established, does not downgrade easily. It upgrades. The impulse that needed to be satisfied immediately yesterday needs to be satisfied faster today. The discomfort of waiting gets harder to tolerate the less frequently you are asked to tolerate it. This is not a moral judgment about having desires. Desires are human. Wanting comfort and pleasure and relief and connection and all the ordinary things that human beings want is not weakness. The problem is not the wanting. The problem is the automatic nature of the response to the wanting. The "I feel this, therefore I do this immediately" quality that removes choice from the equation entirely. When choice is removed from the equation, you are not living your life. Your impulses are living it for you. And impulses do not have access to your values. They do not know what you are trying to build. They do not care about the standard you set for yourself last month or the person you told yourself you were becoming. They care about right now, about the immediate relief, about the fastest available path to feeling better in this specific moment, regardless of what that path costs the version of you that has to live with the choice tomorrow. The disciplined mind is not an empty mind that has no desires. It is a sovereign mind that has desires and examines them before acting on them. The examination does not have to be long. It can be a single breath, a single question. Does acting on this right now serve who I am trying to become? And the answer might be yes. Rest when rest is genuinely needed is not indiscipline. Food when hungry is not weakness. The pause is not about denying everything. It is about choosing rather than following. The difference between choosing and following is the difference between living your life and being lived by it. Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it. Eliminating the compulsive quality, the urgent demanding must have this now quality. When that quality is eliminated, what remains is genuine choice. You can still want things. You can still pursue pleasure and rest and connection and all the good things. But you are the one deciding when and how and whether the wanting gets acted on, not the impulse. You. Start small. Pick one impulse that shows up reliably in your day. The phone reach when you sit down to work, the snack when you are not actually hungry, the scroll when you are uncomfortable with sitting in silence for more than 30 seconds. Just one, and for 1 week, do not eliminate it. Just pause before it. One breath, one question, then decide. Some days you will still do the thing, that is fine. What matters is that it was a decision, that you were in charge of the moment rather than the impulse being in charge of you. That one distinction practiced consistently changes the entire architecture of how you relate to your own behavior. The appetites do not disappear, you just stop letting them drive. And something unexpected happens when you build that pause consistently. The desires do not feel as urgent as they used to. The impulse that felt like a demand begins to feel like a suggestion. The discomfort of not immediately satisfying a want reduces in proportion to how often you have sat with that discomfort and discovered you could. The craving loses its authority the more often you demonstrate that its authority was never real. This is one of the quietest and most powerful shifts available in a human life. Not eliminating what you want, removing the urgency from the wanting, keeping the enjoyment while removing the compulsion, staying in charge of the when and the whether while still allowing the what. The person who has this relationship with their desires has something that no circumstance can take away, because their peace does not depend on the desire being satisfied. It depends on the choice being theirs. And the choice being theirs is something they can always have, regardless of what the appetite is asking for in any given moment. If your impulses have been making your decisions for too long, comment below. I control my desires. Number 5. The law of the obstacle. The thing blocking you is the thing building you. The obstacle arrived and your first response was to find a way around it. That is not a character flaw. That is how the brain is wired. Find the path of least resistance. Conserve energy. Minimize friction. The brain is not trying to make you weak. It is trying to be efficient. The problem is that efficiency and growth are not always pointing in the same direction. The efficient path often leads around the very thing that the growth path requires you to go through. What the brain does not tell you when it is calculating the detour is this: the capability you need to reach what is on the other side of this obstacle is not waiting for you there. It is built by moving through here, right here, through this specific, uncomfortable, demanding obstacle that you have been looking for a way around. Think about every hard thing you have ever moved through in your life, not around, through. Every difficult season that you could not avoid and had to navigate fully. Look at who you were before it and who you were after it. Not in terms of what happened to you, in terms of what was built in you. The patience you did not know you had until it was demanded. The resilience you discovered you possessed only because the situation left you no alternative but to use it. The clarity about what actually matters that only arrived because everything else had been stripped away. None of that was available through the detour. The detour produces arrival at the destination without the transformation the path was supposed to create. You get there, but you are not the person the destination requires. And you feel it. The hollow quality of an achievement that did not cost enough. The uncertainty about whether you can handle the next level because you avoided the training of this one. The obstacle is not interrupting your development. It is the mechanism of your development. The difficulty you are facing right now is not a problem sitting between you and your goals. It is the specific training that your goals require you to have completed before you can fully inhabit them. The level you are trying to reach has requirements. This obstacle is one of them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The way, not the thing beside the way, not the thing you endure before the way resumes, the way itself. The path runs through this, not around it." And the person who accepts that and engages fully with the obstacle rather than managing their exposure to it is the person who arrives somewhere real on the other side. Look at the specific obstacle in your life right now. The real one, not the one you talk about. The one that you have been quietly managing your exposure to. The one you approach and then pull back from because it looks like too much. Ask honestly what capability moving through it would build. What would be different about you on the other side of fully engaging with this rather than continuing to navigate around it? The answer to that question is why the obstacle is there. It is not random. It is not punishment. It is calibrated with uncomfortable precision to the exact growth your next chapter requires. Go through it, not around it, through. And when you come out the other side, notice what you are carrying that you did not have before. The specific confidence that only comes from having been in a hard place and having handled it. Not the theoretical confidence of someone who believes they could handle it. The earned confidence of someone who did. That confidence does not inflate your sense of self in a fragile way. It grounds it. It gives you something to stand on that was built from real experience rather than assumed from nothing. The obstacle also teaches you something about yourself that comfortable conditions specifically hide. What you are made of, how you respond under real pressure, whether the character you believe you have holds up when holding up costs something. You cannot know the answers to those questions from inside the comfortable life. The obstacle is the test, and the test, passed or failed, always produces information that the absence of the test could never have provided. So the obstacle serves you either way. If you move through it, you gain capability and evidence. If you fall short of it, you gain specific information about what needs to be developed. Either way, something real was produced that would not have been produced without the obstacle being there. That is not reframing. That is an accurate description of how human growth works. If the thing you thought was stopping you is actually the thing shaping you, comment below, "Obstacles build me." Number 6. The law of impermanence. Everything ends. Use that truth to start living fully today. Think about the last time you were genuinely present for an ordinary moment. Not a holiday, not a celebration, not a moment you identified in advance as significant and showed up fully for because you knew it was supposed to matter. An ordinary Tuesday, a meal with someone you love, a quiet morning before the day started making demands, a conversation that did not have an agenda, one of the unremarkable, uncelebrated, completely ordinary moments that make up most of a life. Were you actually there, or were you partially there and partially somewhere else? In your phone, in the next thing on the list, in a problem that was not present in that room but that your mind had brought along anyway, in the management of something that could have waited but that you let consume the moment that could not. Most people are partially present for most of their ordinary life, and they live as though this is fine because the moments feel replaceable. There will be another Tuesday, another meal, another quiet morning. The ordinariness makes them feel infinite, but they are not infinite. Every single one of them is happening once. The exact combination of who is in the room and where everyone is in their lives and what is being shared between you. That combination is not repeatable. This version of it is happening right now and only right now. The awareness of impermanence is not about making you sad about endings. It is about making you present for the middle, about letting the knowledge that this is finite inform how much of yourself you bring to it while it is still here. The person who holds that awareness lives inside their life in a way that the person who keeps that awareness at a comfortable theoretical distance does not. The small things look different when you hold it. The slow driver does not cost you 20 minutes of irritation because you do not have unlimited minutes to spend on irritation. The difficult conversation does not get deferred again because the relationship it belongs to is not going to exist forever in its current form. The thing you keep meaning to say to someone stays unsaid for one more day at the cost you can now accurately calculate. One day of an irreplaceable relationship. Is that the trade you want to make? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Perfection of character is this, to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense, not anxious panic about endings, not the performed intensity of someone trying to feel everything loudly, genuine full presence, genuine full engagement, the kind that is quiet and real and that the people in your life can feel when you bring it and feel the absence of when you do not. Practice this today in one ordinary moment, one meal, one conversation, one drive home. Hold the awareness that this specific version of this moment is happening once. Let that awareness determine how much of yourself you bring to it. And notice what changes when you show up fully to something ordinary rather than partially to something that was supposed to be significant. The ordinary moments are most of your life. If you are not present for them, you are not present for most of your life. That is not an abstraction, that is the direct mathematical consequence of the percentage of your days that are unremarkable. Be there for those days. They are the ones that add up. There is also a practical discipline application here that goes beyond presence. When you truly hold the awareness that time is finite, procrastination loses most of its power over you. The most common reason people defer the hard thing is the feeling that a better moment is coming. A moment with more energy, more readiness, less friction. The impermanence awareness exposes that feeling for what it is, a comfortable fiction. There is no better moment stored in the future. There is only this one and the version that comes after it, which will carry its own reasons for deferring again. Start now. Not because now is ideal, because now is real, and ideal was never coming. If you have been postponing your own life, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes, comment below. I live fully now. Number 7. The law of inner citadel. Build a mind so strong that nothing from outside can shake it. The world is going to test you, not eventually, regularly, and the tests are not scheduled. They arrive when you are not ready, when your energy is low, when you have been through too much already and the next hard thing arrives before the last one has fully been processed. They arrive in the form of people who disappoint you and situations that are genuinely unfair and outcomes that did not reflect the effort you put into producing them. They arrive as the ordinary, grinding difficulty of a life being lived in a world that does not arrange itself around your needs. The question is never whether the test arrives. It arrives. The question is what it finds when it does. Some people have no ground to return to when the external world becomes unstable. When the thing they were depending on changes or disappears, they have nothing underneath it. Their stability was borrowed from the circumstances. And borrowed stability evaporates exactly when you need it most, because circumstances shift, always. And if your ground is out there, it shifts with them. The inner citadel is ground in here, ground that does not shift when circumstances shift, because it was not built from circumstances. It was built from the daily, unglamorous, nobody-watching practice of governing yourself in ordinary moments. The small standard held, the impulse examined, the obstacle engaged, the present returned to, the comfort declined in favor of the hard thing. Each one a small deposit into an account that does not depend on external conditions to remain stable. When the hard thing arrives and you reach for that ground and you find it there, something changes permanently. The test found you standing, not because it was easy, because you built the foundation while it was still possible to build it, and the foundation held, and now you know it held. That knowledge changes the next test before it even arrives. You know the ground is there. You know what it feels like to stand on it, and that knowledge, earned through experience rather than claimed through belief, is what genuine mental strength is. Not the absence of difficulty, the ground that holds while the difficulty moves through you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The realizing is the turning point, not the circumstances improving. The moment you genuinely understand, through your own practice rather than someone else's words, that the stability you have been seeking out there was always available in here, that the ground was solid, you just had not yet built the structure that would let you stand on it without it feeling like it might give way. Build that structure through the laws in this video. Every law is a stone. Every practiced day is a stone. Every moment of self-governance is a stone. They accumulate. And what they accumulate into is not visible until the test arrives and you discover that you are still standing when you expected to have fallen. That is the citadel, built in the ordinary, revealed in the extraordinary, available every time as long as the building continues. So keep building, today, in the next ordinary moment, one stone at a time. And know this about the inner citadel. It does not just protect you from difficulty. It changes how you walk into rooms, how you carry yourself in conversations where the stakes are high, how you respond in moments where other people are watching to see if you will fold. The person who has built genuine internal stability does not need to perform confidence, because the confidence is not a performance. It is simply what genuine internal stability looks like from outside. People feel this quality. They cannot name it, but they respond to it. The person with the citadel built does not demand respect. They simply carry themselves in a way that makes withholding it feel strange. That quality is not charisma. It is not personality type. It is the natural outward expression of someone who has done the inner work consistently for long enough that it has become who they actually are. Build it, not for the outward expression, for the ground. The ground is worth having for what it gives you privately, in the moments when no one is watching and you need it most. If you are building something inside that no person, no situation, no setback can ever reach, comment below, "I am unshakable." Number 8. The law of relentless return. Falling is not failure. Staying down is. You are going to break the standard you set for yourself. Not maybe. Not if conditions are particularly difficult. You are going to break it. The impulse you committed to examining before acting on is going to win one day without the examination. The present you trained yourself to return to is going to be completely abandoned for an entire afternoon. The hard path you chose is going to be swapped for the comfortable one because you were too exhausted to make the right choice again. The obstacle you committed to moving through is going to be avoided because that specific day it genuinely felt like too much. That moment is coming, and what you do in the 10 minutes after it is the difference between building something that lasts and building something that resets every time the standard gets missed. Most people have two responses to breaking the standard, and both of them make things worse. The first is the spiral, the "I broke it, so it means nothing" response. The discipline was an illusion response. The "I am not the kind of person who can sustain this" response. This response takes a single missed moment and converts it into a story about identity that makes every subsequent return harder, because you are now not just returning to a practice. You are arguing against a conclusion you drew about who you are. The second is the skip. The "everyone has bad days" response that does not examine what produced the break and does not extract the information it contains. This response feels kind, but it is not. It leaves the same vulnerability in place, and the same vulnerability produces the same fall in the same place the next time the same pressure arrives. Because nothing was learned, nothing was adjusted. The fall was acknowledged and then moved past without the honest look that would have produced something useful from it. The third response is the only one that builds anything. Name the fall. Not with drama, honestly. Look briefly and specifically at what produced it, not what justified it, what produced it. The tiredness that was not managed, the situation that was not prepared for, the specific moment where the choice was available and the wrong one was made. Extract the information, adjust what can be adjusted, and return immediately, without the extended performance of guilt or self-criticism that delays the return and produces nothing except a longer gap between the fall and the recovery. The return is the whole practice, not the seamless consistency that discipline looks like from outside. The return, again and again, getting faster, getting cleaner, the drama getting smaller, the gap between fall and recovery getting shorter. Until what looks from outside like perfect consistency is actually a practice of falling and returning so fast and so cleanly that the falls are barely visible. Seneca wrote, "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Each separate day as a separate life. Yesterday's account is closed. It produced what it produced. Today's account opens now." Not clean in the sense that yesterday had no consequences. The consequences are real and present, but the standard opens again. The practice opens again. The possibility of the best version of today opens again regardless of what yesterday contained. This is available every single morning, not after a perfect week, not after you have proven you can sustain the standard for a sufficient period. Every morning, the account opens, the practice is available. The person you are trying to become is closer than the person you were yesterday, not because yesterday was good, but because today is here, and today has always been enough to begin from. The warrior who has fallen and returned is more prepared than the warrior who claims they never fell. Because the warrior who returned has practiced the path back. They know it. They can walk it in the dark. And when the next fall comes, and it will come, they do not have to figure out how to return. They already know. The route is familiar. The drama is stripped out. The fall and the return become a clean sequence that the unbreakable mind executes without ceremony and without the story that once made it feel catastrophic. Fall, return. That is the law, the most important one. Without it, none of the others hold for long. With it, all of them are recoverable from any distance and any duration. One more thing about the return that matters deeply. The return is an act of self-respect. When you fall and do not return, you are making a decision about your own worth. You are deciding that you are the kind of person who stays down. The return reverses that decision. Every single return is a statement. I am the kind of person who gets back up. And that statement, repeated enough times, becomes the belief. And the belief becomes the identity. And the identity becomes the person who finds, eventually, that falling does not produce the old spiral anymore. It just produces the return. Automatic, immediate, clean. That is what the law of relentless return is actually building, not just the discipline to return. The identity of someone for whom returning is simply what they do, not a struggle, not a feat of willpower. Just the next move, the natural response of a person who has made the return so many times that anything else would feel wrong. You become that person one return at a time, starting with the next one. One final thing about the law of relentless return. It is the most forgiving of all 8 laws while also being the most demanding. Forgiving because it asks nothing of you except the return. It does not ask for the perfect day. It does not ask for the clean week. It does not ask for the evidence that you have mastered the other 7 laws before it applies to you. It asks only for the return. Every time, from wherever you fell, however far back you went, just return. Demanding because the return has to be real. Not the performance of a return that is actually just a pause before the next fall. Not the announcement of the return without the actual changed behavior that follows it, the real return. The one that looks at what produced the fall, adjusts what can be adjusted, and genuinely moves forward differently. That real return, practiced consistently, is the most honest measure of whether the 8 laws are taking root. Not the days when everything went well. The days when something went wrong and you came back anyway. Those are the days that build the unbreakable mind, quietly, without announcement, one return at a time. If you have fallen before and you got back up, and you will get back up again no matter what, comment below, I always return. 8 laws. 1 warrior. 1 ordinary life where extraordinary things get built. Govern yourself, because that is the only territory you actually own, and it is enough. Choose the hard path because the easy one is making you smaller without announcing it. Stay present because the life you keep missing while you are somewhere else in your head is the only one you have. Master the appetite by inserting the pause and making the choice rather than following the impulse. Meet the obstacle by going through it, not around it, because what you need is on the other side of the going through. Hold the awareness of impermanence so that the ordinary moments get the presence they deserve before they become memories. Build the inner citadel through every governed ordinary moment until the ground inside you is solid enough to stand on when the external ground gives way. And when you fall, return, fast, clean, every time. None of this is easy. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it, and the result would not be rare. The result is rare because the process is demanding. Demanding in the way that any real training is demanding. Not dramatically, consistently. Day after day in the unremarkable hours where nobody is watching, and the choice between the standard and the shortcut is entirely yours. The mentally unbreakable person is not someone who was born different from you. They are someone who made the same choices available to you repeatedly across ordinary days until the choices became habits and the habits became character and the character became someone the hardest things in their life eventually had to reckon with. You are in training right now. You have been since you started watching this video. The first training rep was showing up. The second was staying. The third is taking one of these 8 laws and putting it into your actual life today, not next week, not when the circumstances are better. Today, in the next ordinary moment that presents itself. 1 law, practice today, then again tomorrow, then the day after, until the practice is the person. And the person is unbreakable, not invincible, not without pain, not above difficulty, unbreakable. The kind that bends in the storm and does not snap, that gets hit and stays standing, that falls and returns every single time without exception until the returning is simply who they are. Here is what the unbreakable mind produces that most people are not expecting. It does not just help you handle the hard things. It changes how you experience the ordinary ones. When the mind is governed and present, and the appetite is managed and the standard is being held, the ordinary Tuesday feels different from the inside. Not more dramatic, more real, more yours, more fully inhabited than the version you were living before the laws were in place. The discipline does not just prepare you for the worst. It deepens your experience of everything. The focus that was scattered across everything that could not be controlled comes home and goes into what can be. The energy that was being spent on every impulse that presented itself becomes available for what you actually chose. The time that the wandering mind was spending in the past and the future becomes available for the present, where your life is actually happening. The unbreakable mind is not a defensive posture. It is an offensive one. It is not built to survive. It is built to fully inhabit, to be completely present for the good things and completely equipped for the hard things and completely honest about the difference between the two. That is the life these 8 laws are building. Not a perfect life, a fully inhabited one. And a fully inhabited ordinary life is worth more than a perfectly managed one that was never truly lived from the inside. That is who you are building, starting right now. If this video built something in you today, share it with a warrior who needs to hear it. And remember, you are not forged in the easy moments. You are forged in exactly this one. 8 laws, 8 daily practices, 8 commitments made not to the world, but to yourself, in the quiet, in the unremarkable, in the moments where nobody sees the choice and the only person it matters to is you. Those moments are the whole building. Everything visible that the outside world eventually sees was made in those invisible moments first. Go build. Start today. One law, one moment, one decision that the person you are becoming would be proud of. The warrior you were always supposed to be is not waiting somewhere in the future. They are waiting in the next choice you make. Make it count.